Keegan and Company. It's Keegan and Company, the company you keep. That's it. That's got to be it. Welcome back to the Keegan and Company podcast. Before we kick things off, I do have another favour to ask. If you could all please just jump over, like, subscribe, and if you're not following us on socials, follow us on Keegan and Company. Now, to get into it, I'm sitting with one of my really good friends, one of my favourite people in the world. What an intro. Ryan James, how are you, brother?
Brother.
Mate, no. Where did brother kick off from?
I think it was when Mitch Rain came to the Gold Coast.
Rain.
Such a good bloke, such a good little competitor. He's back.
He's back. Is he staying on the coast?
Yeah, no, he just moved back and he just had his kid, so he's back on the Gold Coast. But yeah, he just kept saying brother, and I think everyone just started saying brother. But yeah, no, that was a great intro. Thanks.
Well, you are. You're just like that's what I was telling you just before. I was like, I don't know how to start these conversations. I was like, because I want to go through the rap sheet, obviously played professional rugby league, doing all the study, but there's sometimes the list, your list is too long. I was writing out your list, I was like, I'm not going to say that in the intro.
Yeah, no, it's, I haven't really reflected back on my career yet, and just because I just went straight from footy into study and just finished that. But yeah, I haven't really had time to sit down and process what I've done. But yeah, I like to think that I've done a lot. But yeah, let's chat about it.
Let's. I think probably a great way to start this off is probably if you could give us a little snapshot of where you come from, coming into the NRL, captaining the NRL, captaining the Gold Coast Titans, just a brief snapshot of what it looks like. Because I know most people know who you are, but it's just for reference.
Context. So yeah, a quick overview. So I grew up here in Blamble. I'm a proud Bundjalung man from Tweed Heads. Proud Aboriginal man. My mum's my Aboriginal side. So I grew up in Blamble Heights, played junior football for the Blamble Jets from under 7s to 17s. And was lucky enough to go to Palm Beach Currumbin and play for the Gold Coast Titans from 2008 to 2020. During that time, did my undergrad at Griffith University, which then transitioned into me going to Canberra, which was a 2-year deal, which turned into one. Then moved back home during the whole COVID period where we ran into each other a couple times in camp, and then signed with the Broncos the following year, and then finished up my career at the Broncos last year, and had that last game for the All-Stars at the start of this year, then went straight into finishing my MBA, finished that about 6 weeks ago. Now I'm in that weird limbo where it's what do I do?
The grind doesn't stop. How good was Palmy? Why'd you go to PBC?
So a big part of it was my brother actually went there. So we all went to Tweed River. We had a pretty good football team at that school, and a lot of my mates ended up going there. And he was one of the first juniors to sign with the Titans. So Titans didn't want me at the time.
And they all come crawling back.
Yeah. And then, I ended up signing with the Titans a couple of years later. So my brother went there, and then it's just a good school, which instills great values. You went to PBC. I went there and, watched my brother train and, go sitting in the car park, you're watching people that have gone on to play NRL, hundreds, 300, 400, 500 games, in his team. And then we were lucky enough to win the comp the next year.
Did you win the Aussie comp?
Yeah. So our team, there's still Cody Walker's still playing today.
Yeah.
I think our halves pairing was Cody Walker and Jordan Rankin, and Jordan Rankin played NRL that year. So
just retired as well.
Just retired. Yeah, he's a great bloke. You
One
would
of the
be with him
best.
at Parramatta.
Yeah.
So we had a really good team that year. We won, and it's just a school that instills good values. So it made us, if we weren't doing well at school, we weren't playing footy.
I remember coming into Palmy, and what I liked, my mum taught at Palmy years and years ago. So she knew Paddo, she knew Jeff Bagnall. Bags, our school coach. He was my school coach. He was, when he first came in when my mum was there, it was his first year. So he would always leave cones and tackle bags, everything out on the field. And mum's like, who is this bloke? But the coolest thing, obviously very cool thing about the school is it's on the beach.
Oh.
You get to train as a subject.
Yeah.
Then you get to go and do the recovery on the beach, which is wild. And the cool thing is, along with that, but the crew that have gone through there, obviously yourself, Kevin Proctor, Geordie Rankin, and even surfers as well, Joel Parkinson, Mick Fanning, Fisher, and another cool thing is everyone sort of, I don't know what it was like. I'm keen to hear your thoughts on what it was like when you were there. But when we were there, it was the AFL boys had their groups, footy boys had their groups, surfers had their groups, but everyone had their own, whether it's dancing, whether it's academic, whether it's music. Was it the same for you?
Yeah, it was pretty much the same. So there's footy boys, AFL boys. But when we did PE and stuff, everyone was together.
Yeah.
We had Casey Dumont, who ended up being, I think, the Matildas goalkeeper for a while. And you go and you watch all these people's careers fall into place for them. And there was a couple of boys in the AFL that went to playing for the Suns. I've never
Sick.
watched AFL. And, for those reasons, you got those connections at school and you end up watching, these different sports because you make these connections at a great school. So shout out the PBC.
Yeah, shout
Reds.
out. There we go. And then when you finished up footy, you were 18 straight into first preseason at the Titans?
Yeah, so it was one of my goals because so Rankin played first grade when you were 11.
Wild.
So I was like, okay, I really want to play first grade, at 18 years old. Don't know why that was a goal,
Yeah.
but it just was. And I was lucky enough the following year after I finished high school at PBC, I was lucky enough to push out 4 games that year. The Titans did really well that year. I think they were 1 game off the GF, but going into a side with like your Scott Princes, Luke Baileys, Minicellos, like LaFranchies, Matt Rogers, there was just such a good core group of those guys at the start, which I think led the platform for that club to make, them really, or Preston Campbell, really recognised in the community. They had that community support, and it was great to be part of, I grew up in Tweedhead, so it was great to come and be part of a team where I grew up.
But that's still young. Like, obviously, Rank's a freak, and he's, 16, which is wild. But even 18 is so young to be like, there's only a handful of people that are debuting before they're 20, right?
Yeah, I think it's like a rule now, so I don't know what it is. But yeah, I remember, like, we were in Australian schoolboys camp in year 11 when Rankin got called into Australia, go play NRL, and we thought that he was taking a piss.
Yeah.
And he just left the camp, and then the whole Australian schoolboys squad went and watched, and, a lot of those boys went on to play first grade. It would have been maybe 80% of that team.
Yeah.
And we're just going, how good's this? Like, it's there within reach, and there's someone already doing it. So, no, it's just amazing to see, those people's lives and careers roll out, and you're still, big parts of them. Did
you think that footy was always going to be a thing for you growing up? Like, were you always that kid that was probably talented than everyone else? Did you always think, like, I'm going to play footy? Or was it like, that would be a dream?
I think it was from when I was about 15. We went down for like a New South Wales tryout, and I was playing for like Northern, I think it was, and I thought I'd cooked it. I was just like, no. I remember crying to my dad, just going, I had like a shitty game, and I was playing back row at the time, and they, you sit down and they named a team, and I was just sitting there, and they named a team, and they named the 2 back rowers. One of them, I can't remember who they were, but one of them was Sam Saville. We both know who Sav is.
Yeah, Sav.
And I was just like, yep, that's it. I'm done. And then they named me at lock. So I was like, oh, how good's this? So then, like, my dad looked at me. He's like, I told you. I was like, yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
And then they went to name the player at the carnival. And then I got that. I was like, well, maybe I am good enough. Because I think I hadn't signed with a club at that time. And then we'd reached out to the Titans before that because they had signed my brother. But I ended up signing with Melbourne Storm after that. So I think I was there for a year and a bit. And then, once I had the opportunity to stay home, I took that with both hands.
100%.
My mummy's boy.
Yeah, and then now she's still living with you, which is great. I want to fast track to when the conversations around being captain came around. How old were you then? Still pretty young, right?
I might have been like 24. So I was when I think Nate Miles, Greg Bird, I think they were co-captains at the time. And it was around Origin time. So it was just one of those ones where I think, Birdie and Nate were both in Origin. And I think Will Zillman was like the next step in. And then I think Zilly might have had a bit of an injury. So I remember Nate I think it was Neil Henry at the time. He's like, well, who do we put as captain? And Nate's just like, yeah, just chuck Darkin. We trust him. I was like, oh, sweet. And Birdie was the same. And then, it was just one of those things where it was like an ad lib a couple of times while the boys were away. And then I think it was a year, maybe 2 after that, I officially got the club captain. So I think the year after it went to Will Zillman and Nathan Friend. Nathan Friend came back from a stint from New Zealand. And then, just like, a couple of times during that career. So I actually got, slowly part of, like, I guess what are they called, leadership groups. I was just lucky that I was probably part of an NRL squad for 7 years before that anyway, which is a lot when you think about it in hindsight. But, it's just one of those things where slowly got eased into it. But, once you got the captaincy and you got the whole Gold Coast sitting on your shoulders, looking at you, looking to run the team. And, it's a lot of pressure. But, like, I look back now and go, wow, you don't realise, but I think I'm just a pretty cruisy bloke, and I like to rely on a lot of the people around me, and I know my strengths and weaknesses, and my strengths are using the people around me to get the best outcome.
What changed, from a practical point of view, when you go from just playing to now you're looking after a team you've got like the whole of Gold Coast looking at you, you know what I mean? Like what changed from a practical point of view?
It was just always like this thought that like I had good leaders around me, so I just tried to make sure I just took good things from, great people, like people that probably didn't think that, were the highest caliber. I remember like Luke Douglas, I used to watch how professional he was, like such a good bloke, like Luke Bailey, Scott Prince, Preston Campbell, they're all just really good people. So you just kind of get these good traits of these good people around you, and you just try and form them into, your best form of yourself. And that's all you can really do. Just try to carry yourself to the best of your ability. But you need to play consistent footy as a captain and play good every week. And, sometimes if you have a bad week and you're just like, wow, like I know I've probably got another couple of shots, but you can't throw too many bad games together. So I was lucky that I had a pretty consistent part where, take away a few injuries. I stretched a couple good years together, which was good for myself. But yeah, for ACLs doesn't help.
Do you did you ever think like rewinding back to having like those bad couple games? Do you ever think like maybe they will take the captaincy off you? Is that ever like a thought process? It might not be, but is it ever a thought process?
I don't think it was at the time, but it's just one of those things where if it's there next to your name, like you have to perform.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure, and like you don't think about it at the time. But I was just lucky I had a lot of things happening outside of footy. I studied my whole career, so I had places where I could switch off and then think about other things, because football can consume you, as you know. It can just take over your whole life. But lucky I've got great family, great wife, some kids, 2 kids that came through probably, I think it was 2016. I had Carter, so I didn't have Carter, but 2016, and then, everything, like a whole change of perspective. You're looking after, other people that mean more to the world than you do.
Yeah, I do want to touch on family, and I do want to touch on study. But the biggest thing that like I found when I came to the Titans, I think I came to the Titans at 2017, I think it was, just after you killed it in 2016. But the biggest thing, and I like, obviously you came to all the Reds games, like always, like you, Kevy, Geordie, like all the old Palmy boys would always come to the Reds games. So we'd always see you guys there. But then coming into the Gold Coast, it's like you guys were just so welcoming. Like I felt so welcome coming in there. I felt like between yourself, like Boogs, Anthony Don, Carl Lawton was there, like Kane LG, like we had such a, like you talked about having good people around. We had such a good crew, hey?
Yeah, and I think I probably like different time frames as well. Like I remember when I came in the NRL, you kind of have to earn the respect of everyone, but it's kind of transitioned a lot over time. Like some of our youngest players now, like our greatest players. Like last year, I was at the Bronx, and Paddy Carrigan, like genuine leader. Like I watch him every week and watch how he carries himself, and I just go, wow, like this kid's only like young 20s. And you look at like Payne Haas, and the kid's like, he's won like 5. He's honestly going to be the best front rower that ever played a game. Yeah. Like, it's unbelievable. But, like, some of these young kids now have just got the confidence, and they're just starting to just form themselves into great people. So I think that started from about 2017, where everyone was just respecting everyone. Yeah. Like, it didn't matter if you're the oldest person in the squad, youngest, but still, like, a little bit of a respect thing. You had to earn your stripes a little bit. But, like, yeah, it changed a lot over my time. And I think, it was just like a transition in society, really. Like, social media is everything. And it's just one of those things. I can't actually put my finger on it, but it's just one of those things everyone is just accepting. I talked to an old 20s coach about Paddy and a few of the young leaders that were coming through. Like Jai Arrow was our captain when we were in 20s. And then it was me, and then it was Paddy. And then I was like, why did you pick Paddy as a captain? He's like, man, it was just a natural leader. Like, obviously worked really hard. Like, I think you have to. But he just had instant respect from all the boys, like all the older boys, even coming into Grady, like Corey Parker, Juice Maguire, Geordie Kahu, Alex Glenn, all those older guys who were just the same thing, like great crew, like great people. But he just automatically had their respect. Yeah, when you see people work hard, you know that they're trying to do something right. Yeah. And then you see the kids that like might miss a rep or something like that, and you just sort of keep your eye on them. You're like, well, are you really trying your best to be here? But like as I reflect back on last year, like I've never seen a front rower like Payne Haas and Paddy just win everything. Yeah. It was like unbelievable. I was lucky enough. Even in training? Even in training. Like I was lucky enough to play with Luke Bailey, who I thought was the fittest front rower to ever to play the game. Yeah. Like first down there, kick chase, play 80 minutes. And Payne Haas is doing that, and like 115 to 20 kilos. Paddy's doing like Paddy could play 80 minutes in Origin if you asked him to. So what, mate? So could Payne. Payne came, so we were doing NRL preseason, and I think I might have been like 18 or 19, first or second year. He came in for a session as a 16-year-old, probably weighed 125 kilos, and he was leading the forward pack back then. Yeah,
I was like, because you know when these young kids come through, I was like, this is going to be a shock to the system.
Oh.
With like me and Moosey, Josh Maguire, like he was smashing it.
Yeah, he's a freak. I don't know. As I said before, like those two, like that young forward pack that they got up there is going to carry them over the next 5 to 10 years.
It's cool. I know we were talking at dinner last night with like earning the respect and Moe in the gym. Can you tell us a little bit about that story? Because I fucking love hearing that.
Oh, yeah, young Mo Footwaker. So I was a captain of the Titans. He come onto the Titans on like a training trial. So like a kid that, and I played with his brother who sadly passed, and he come through the Canberra system. And you know how you play King of the Ring, you wrestle each other the last two.
Kind of like a shark bait.
Yeah, shark bait kind of thing. And I used to think I was pretty red hot at wrestling. And then, it was me and him at the end. I was like, I'm going to wrestle this kid. Yeah, I think he might have been 17 at the time.
So young.
And he's a very quiet kid.
Super humble.
Humble, respectful, works hard, trains hard. I knew he was going to be a leader. And then, we wrestled for about 5 minutes, and then he absolutely wrestled me. And then everyone just was cheering for him, and here I am, captain of the club, getting sprayed by everyone.
Yeah.
But after he probably signed a 5-year deal, so he probably owes me 10% of his contract.
Can we take some commission, mate? Can you take some commission? Mate, fast forward to, I think it was, what season was it? Third ACL, when we were at the Titans. I want to explore, because obviously talk about mental health and sport podcast.
Yeah.
And when I think of you, like obviously like we've known each other for however many years now, and I look at the process of what you went through then, which is pretty, I remember the day, and you can probably touch on it a little bit. I was doing a recovery run on the sideline at Seabus, and mate, I'll let you tell the story because you went through the line and the big front row, but can you please explain the story, but then also what were the thought process? Like, what were you thinking about afterwards?
Probably genuinely one of the hardest parts of my career.
Really? Yeah.
So I'd done my ACL the year before. I think I was 8.5 months in. We're coming into a trial match, and the week before we just did a team versus team thing. It was 8.5 months. First ACL on my right knee, so you can play at 9 months. So I was 2 weeks off playing. Hopped in the 13v13. Was getting used to it, getting used to the tackles. And then all of a sudden I make a break. Never made a break in my whole life.
Scored plenty of tries, but
never made a break from our 10. And then I got to the JC, John Campbell was the fullback. Just everything that could have went wrong at the time. So he tackled me from the side before it. So Phil Sammy I know it was AJ Brimson pushed up on the inside. I should have just passed to him. He would have scored. Didn't have confidence probably in myself to turn and pass at the time. Just went to take the tackle as I took it. As JC tackled me, he just rolled around the back and kind of landed on the back of my leg. So that didn't do it. But as I hit the ground, the body weight of him, I just stuck, and then I just felt it pop, and I was like, surely not. And I remember it was just dead silent. The training just stopped, and everyone just stopped, and I was like, no. And that was so I was playing for a contract. So off
contract next
I was
year.
off contract the following year, and I was just like, well, that was my one shot to get back and try and play footy again, because it was my third ACL, and I knew straight away that I did it. And then because my knee swelled up pretty quickly, the ACL test didn't really show it. And then once I got the scan, I was devastated. I remember Anthony and Frankie took me, and then I just cried the whole way home. And Buffer, I was just like, Buffer, can I just retire now? Is there a job here at the club? And then he kind of talked me into it, and just said, let's just get some surgery, do some rehab. But he said, let's just have some time off and just think about yourself, your family, and what you want to do. And then, I was just I don't know, I was kicking stones for about 2 weeks, to tell you the truth. And then, I got over myself. But it was a tough, dark 2 weeks. It was one of my best contracts. So I was on good money at the club, and, not to be able to prove that I could play footy again to get another contract, and you start to doubt yourself. And it's just one of those things where you're just going, why now? But everything, I don't like to think everything happens for a reason, but everything happens for a reason. And, I went and got surgery and just, worked my way back. And I was so grateful. At the end of the year, Raiders gave us a 2-year deal down there. So, I got to continue my footy career.
It was, I remember it so vividly. You telling that story, I had goosebumps, because I remember being on the field and obviously because you're loved by everyone in the team, obviously captain, and I know you're really humble, but just watching that, it was so incredibly sad. But you've at that stage, you'd played 10 seasons in the NRL, which is huge. Like, and I'm trying to relate it back to imagine how many players and people have gone through similar situations. Do you ever just think like, no, I'm happy with having a 10-year career and walking away? Or is it like, nah, this is not how I want it to end?
Yeah, well, the only reason I decided to play again was so you drove out of my place this morning.
Yeah.
As you're driving out Bundjalung Road, you can see the stadium.
Yeah.
And Carter was like, Dad, there's your footy stadium.
No, man.
I don't want to cry.
You joking?
And I was just like, oh, no. I started crying in the car. I was like, all right, let's do it.
For little Carter.
Yeah, for Carter. So I was like, all right, let's do it.
Mate, you've got the best family. How much? I knew we were gonna be tearing up. Like, I love you, mate. How, like, just touching on family? How important are them to you? Like, continuing your football career and even like post study. Like, are they huge? Right?
Yeah. Like, sorry, still crying. Yeah, just super important. I love having my family around me. That's what my family's always done. They've been around each other. Mum's family still lives all together up on the farm. Mum lives with me.
Yeah.
You were at my place last night. Mum and Dad live behind. Brother works out of the shed behind. They're your toughest critics, but they're the ones that keep you grounded. So I'm super grateful that I've got such a good family. Like, my brother's got really good football knowledge. Tim, the one, he's like 14 months older than me, I think. And my oldest brother, Brad, Dad, they all played football. They
get it.
They know how I play, and I was just grateful to have them around constantly. So, Mum, I used to be able to hear Mum at home games in the stands. Like,
my mum and dad would sit next to your parents during the games.
Like,
so vocal.
Everyone could hear my mum and dad would try and shush her up. But I was just like, I was just so grateful. I had a great supporting family, and Anna, like, I've been with Anna since year 8, I think, and. Now we got 2 beautiful kids, and just like I've just got a really good support network and good close knit friends. But
you talk about having a close knit like friend network, but you give so much love to your mates and your teammates. Like, I remember when like Carl Lawton, when he left, like, he's obviously like one of my best mates. And when he left, he got up in front of the team and told the Titans boys that he was moving on. And then, like, I look over to the side of you, and you're just full tears, just because you care. And the same thing happened with Elge, and, like, it's just, I don't know how we
I just like to think I care. No.
Mate, I don't know, you've just got so much love for the boys. Oh, not for the boys, but for everyone.
Yeah, anyone that played with me would know I'm a crier. So, like, every time someone debuted and their parents would give them a jersey, like, because I know the feeling. I was just like, well, you get to live your childhood dream out, and, like, they're just the best moments. They're the moments that football clubs probably don't realise are so important. Like, when a kid gets a jersey off his parents to play the game that he's wanted to play for so long, like, you've worked your whole life for this. And, like, I just remember just watching my mates get their jerseys, even if they were, like, milestone jerseys. Everyone would always look at me because I'd just be crying in the corner. They'll be like, well, I'm just super happy for him because I know what it takes to get there. And everyone has to do the exact same thing to get to the spot in an NRL. Like, less than 1% of people play NRL. So, I just like, I just it's not the getting the jersey. It's like the last 10 years, 15 years of, like, working your ass off trying to get there. Oh, 100%. And, like, you're with them in the whole preseason, so you know when they're ready. And then just to see, how excited people are to get a jersey. I did the same in Canberra. Boys down there probably didn't know I was a crier. And then when I got my jersey to play football again, like, I tried to say something because Ricky Stewart, they take you up to it's like a big dining place. It looks over the whole of Canberra. So I think there was maybe 2 or 3 of us debuting that day. And the day before, like, after captain's run, they take everyone out for lunch if someone's debuting or got a milestone. And they bring in an old Raider. And it was awesome. And then an old Raider gave me my jersey, and I tried to say something. And I just cried the whole time. Yeah. And I was just like, no, everyone knows I'm a crier. But it's just like, it's good to show your emotion. It means that you care.
100%. But just on top of that, you've gone almost 2 years without playing.
It was a long time, and super grateful for that club. Like, give us an opportunity to go down there. It was like one of the proudest moments. I remember chucking on the jersey and scored in my first game.
Got a
meat
meat pie.
And it was all worth it. Yeah.
And then after Raiders, you went to Bronx for a couple of years. Run me through that and why they wanted you there specifically.
Yeah, so I signed 2 years at the Raiders, and then COVID happened, so we only lived in Canberra for about 8 months, and then everyone moved back to. I was lucky enough that we got moved to the Gold Coast, so COVID was just like a whole weird thing during NRL. We had like
Wild.
6 teams, was it, staying with us at
Where-
Carrara.
Yeah.
And I was just lucky I had heaps of teams in different places.
I'm glad we were in the same bubble because
Yeah.
you would always bring in the sashimi and we'd be
I was
having good
bringing-
fish from
We had-
Tasman's.
Yeah, from Tasman Star. Shout out Tasman Star.
Shout out.
Yeah, we were just living, and like everyone brought their families in, and you get to see how other teams work, how other coaches work. But once the family was home and how comfortable they were, I had to sit down with Stick and just ask, like, is it okay if I stay home? Because Anna's pretty happy here. We're back at home on the Gold Coast. We just enrolled Carter back at Mudgebar Creek because it was his first year of school, and all the kids missed so much school that year.
Yeah.
There was no there's no educators in the bubble. It was pretty hard. Like a lot of those kids, would have missed 3-4 months of school. But yeah, we were just comfortable to stay home, and then asked Nash Dawson to reach out to
One of the greats.
to Kevy. So went up and had a meeting with Kevy, and he pretty much wanted us to come there in a bit of a leadership role, and they had a young squad to try and just help guide them on and off the field. And obviously I was at the back end of my career and I wasn't going to be out there beating the world down, but one of the greatest clubs I've ever, like, they're probably there, hands down. Like, they're a great club. They look after their players. They know how to run the business, and I'm super grateful I finished my career there because they even I still work in the Beyond Broncos program now, where I work with the year 9 to 12 Indigenous girls. They're in 55 schools, so they're making impact off the field, on the field, and just to see where they ended up this year was so good, and like just super grateful that I got to be at that club.
But you got to be a part of it and you contributed to it. Like, they brought in a bunch of old heads like yourself. Old heads, sorry, mate. Sorry, mate. Reynolds, Kurt Capewell, because they are a young side, and it's cool. I talked about this on Paddy's podcast, like the young core group of guys that we played 20s with coming through and now playing together. I think there's like 7 or 8 of them.
Yeah.
But having like those older, more mature players who have been in leadership positions like yourself, like that's going to go such a long way and probably contributed to why they got into the grand final, why they had so much success this year.
Yeah, I was the reason they're there.
There's a clip.
Like obviously Adam Reynolds he's your halfback. He's a little fella that steers the ship around, and I think he's a year older than me. And then Capes is the same, he premiership winner, but like mine was a totally different story. Like, I'd been a captain of the club, and I'd like to think I was probably well respected, like, by my peers, and just there to kind of help guide and give some guidance to younger fellas. And they were just really willing to learn. Like, they're all great young kids, and they're kids. Like, they're legit kids. Like, some like Selwyn Colbo, his actual kid.
Yeah.
Like, and last year I think he was maybe 19, and I was just like, got to spend a lot of time with him. He was next to me in my locker, and a lot of time with him in the car, and just get to know these people off the field and just help them, with life. Like, I like to think that I've, done pretty good outside of football, and just tell them that football doesn't last forever. As me and like, we both had that injury because of you. I started my MBA. We started doing a couple of different things together, and it was just one of those things where if you have good people around, good things tend to happen. So I was just there. I think I might have played 15 odd games. I was so grateful to go up there and play for the Broncos, but I knew my job off the field was like just to be around the boys, make them better players. And I remember telling Kevy, I was like, I think I broke this finger, so it was like at the end of the season, and even like with the Broncos, so I was like, they played me against the Titans. It was going to be one of my last home games, and like they did everything that they could to get my family there, and then they did the same up there, like just bring everyone along. Just like could be a last game. Like I wasn't going to announce my retirement. I was just going to slide out the back door, and hopefully they let me, but they just didn't do it.
Yeah. It was, but that's the thing. Like you've always done these little things. Like even if the boys are buying houses, you're looking at the real estate, like talking about certain investments, like going to talk to the guys that you lean on. Like you always, mate, it's so cool because you always pass that down, and you're so generous with your time. Like I remember when I bought a place in Currumbin, you're like, I got so much furniture, just come grab it. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Like random little things like, or even last night, you're like, I got the pool house. Just stay in the pool house whenever you need it.
Yeah. Well, I just like if I've got it and it's there, everyone can have it. Like nothing's ever mine, and everyone's like, if you're my mate, like I'm happy to help anyone.
Is that part? Do you reckon that's from like your background, like your Indigenous background, or even just like your family?
Yeah, I think just like, I guess like I see how my mum's family grow up, and they still literally they got a farm at the back of Carroll, and everything's just been up there. Like Christmases when we were young, but like all the aunties and uncles are still up there, and I think if you see it when you're younger, you just tend to do it when you're older.
Yeah.
And even now, like at my place, like everyone's at my place at the moment. So I just like having people around and family around because they're only around for so long. And there's nothing better than having, mum and dad around. The kids can run up and see them. And I remember when we used to go to my grandparents, it was the best, but it's great having mum and dad so close. And, they raised me forever, so why not do the same in return?
Yeah, man, I think good things happen to good people. A question I wanted to ask was if you were going to, like, it ties into passing on, I guess, like traits to younger players, to family members or whatever. But if you were going to create a program or if you're going to create a presentation to new, current, transitioning NRL players or even athletes, what are the top 3 things that you would like to talk about?
Well, transitioning's hard, so I'm still in that stage. Like, I was so lucky that I had uni. So I went straight into doing my MBA, so I was very lucky. I kind of retired at a good time, so we had our retirement fund. And then I think a month before that, we got our COVID payback.
Yeah.
So I was just like, wow, like it's a good time to me to put my head in the books and finish my MBA. And so I managed to do that, and then that finished about 6 weeks ago. And you're still in this limbo. No one knows what they're going to do after footy. Like, even though I've got a couple different businesses outside of footy, you still don't know what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like,
it's still tough.
It's so tough. And like, I'm so grateful at the moment. I get to drop my kids to school every day and pick them up most days and be around them, because you don't realise as a footballer you don't actually get to spend much time with your family. And you're just like, especially at the Titans, like it's not the Broncos where you play every Friday night.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Saturday, Sunday, you're probably travelling 3 or 4 times a week, and you're out. Like, but I was just wanted to do a little bit of family time, finish some stuff for myself, and now I'm like kind of in that limbo. I'm like, okay, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And it's like, you can prepare for it as much as you want, but once it finishes, you still kind of, like it's a routine. Like football, you get told what to do, where to be. Everyone books your flights. You rock up the train. You got towels. They feed you, and then you step outside. I was lucky, uni. Like you go to class, you do this, you do that. So you're still in a routine, and then once you lose the routine, you got a bit of time. You're twiddling your hands. You don't know what to do.
But you were the most prepared out of everyone. Like you did the business. We were going through our MBA together. But you were always like switched on in terms of like investments, like networking. Like you're so good at bringing people together. You probably are the perfect example of like, from the outside looking in, looking like you have it all together. Like beautiful house, beautiful family. Like from the outside looking in, looks like you've got it all together. But I'm sure it would be still a wild transition out.
Oh, it's still so hard. So, we own Biscuit Whole Foods, me and Greg Bird and Selassie Birdie, a couple of footballers. And then we also own a furniture defit company, Project Net Zero. So Birdie headed that up for a while. We defit all the big banks. But these are things that you need to find, I guess, what you're passionate in.
Yeah.
And it's just like we were talking about you last night. Like you want to go back and study, and it's just like you just need to find your why again, because a lot of when you play football, your why is to win a comp.
Yep.
You want to be the best teammate, and then when you're transitioning out of it, you just need to sort of sit down and figure out your why again. So I think there's probably something in the NRL having good psychs, good transition coaches, because it's such a tough time and you lose your identity. Your identity is Ryan James, the footballer. I've been a footballer since 2009 once I signed with the Titans.
Yeah.
And now, I'm Ryan James, the dad, and
you're not just Ryan James, the footy player. You're Ryan James, the student. Like you're multiple like business owner. And I want to touch on Biscuit Whole Foods and what you're doing later on. But do you have any? I guess like you talked about passion and like finding your passion. That's like really great and like really great to say. But do you have like? I remember if someone said to me when I was 22 years old, just go out and find your passion. I was like, well, I have no idea how to do that. Do I just try certain things? Like, do you have any tips for like crew that are going through or players that are going through?
Yeah, and I definitely just try. Like I remember, I was never going back to study, and then you had obviously the first head knocks, and I had my knee, and you just mentioned let's do our MBA, so I was like, oh, all right, let's do our MBA, and then we dove into that. But just trying everything, and then. Once I finished NRL, I had a job lined up with KPMG. Did 6 months there, and
that was a good gig, right?
That was a good gig, but I worked in the Indigenous services. I have a great passion to help First Nations Australia. Through football, I got to see a lot of how First Nation Australia lived, and that's still my passion today. So, I just at the moment I'm really working towards finished my MBA at Bond. I pitched them, a First Nations Futures Hub at Bond, which, they've employed us to do. I still work with the Beyond Broncos program, but I really want to help. My kids did an early learning program here with Cowan, early learning, and they're such a good program, which I think should be Australia-wide. So
what do they do?
They just take in all the Indigenous kids around the coast, and they just give them 1 day of free daycare. But some of these kids are going from like carers and being around family and not being in daycare, and then going to school already behind. Whereas this program gets them up to speed, makes sure they interact with kids from, different, not backgrounds, but like different economic backgrounds. So like, and then getting them ready before school. So then when they get to school, like they're ready. They've already, interacted with different kids. They're not just going from auntie and uncle and nan straight into school, and they don't need all the carers throughout. So if they're looking after people, like if we're looking after our young people early, it's helping them transition. Then the economic effect is unbelievable. Not only that, it's taking stress off the family just for 1 day. Like people don't realise, stress just for 1 day off your back can just help you so much mentally.
I remember you talking about when I think it was Brookie or Carter going through it, and he said that he was so much more prepared. Did they have ties with their culture like going through?
Yeah. So they just make sure they're very culturally strong themselves. And it was when we moved to Canberra, so it was a year before Carter started school. We had him enrolled at Mudgebar Creek, but then I signed with the Raiders. So he went down to a new environment, new school, knew no one, and then like he excelled. And I was just like so grateful that he was part of that program. And I was just like, well, I was lucky enough, I think it was in 2020, I was able to find them funding to open another one up at Coomera. And now we're just kind of in talks with them, obviously been trying to start this foundation for a while, but we want to try and do something with Cowan where we can open them up, a lot of them up in southeast Queensland, because I've seen the effects it's had on my kids, and I know that I can continue that in the future. How
important is it for, because I don't know, how important is it for young, I guess, Indigenous kids coming through to be attached to their culture? And I remember talking to Corbin Baxter a couple of weeks ago. She's an Australian NRLW player, played for Australia, played for Maldives, but she didn't really have a tie to her culture. It wasn't until the All-Stars, one of the All-Stars game, if I'm saying that correctly. But yeah, she loved it so much because obviously her parents' background. But when she was in with all the other girls, they would bring the culture dinners in, the dancing, the songs, and she said it just felt like home.
Yeah.
How important is it?
It's so good, and it fills your cup. So I was so grateful I got to play a lot of Indigenous All-Stars game, and they pulled us back for one last game at the start of this year, and I was just like, how good's this? Like, I get to play with some of the best players in the game. And not only that, you get to be around with your people. And it was the first game over in New Zealand. So, just being, I was so lucky that I knew I was Indigenous growing up, and whereas a lot of people wouldn't have that knowledge. Like, some people's grandparents weren't allowed to say they're Indigenous. Like, Mum wasn't recognised as a person until she was 7 years old.
I remember you saying, like, in 1967, that they weren't recognised as a person.
That's when they were first recognised as people. Before that, they were flora and fauna. So you're just like, you're scratching your head and you're going, well, that's a long time ago. I'm like, no, that's my mum.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, well, and then the kick-on effect happens. But, just being, strong within yourself, knowing where you're from. And that's why another reason I love having my mum around, because she can tell my kids stories and how she grew up. And, my kids probably don't realise how lucky they have it at the moment. But, society's definitely changing. And it's, I look back to the All-Stars game this week. It was so good going over to New Zealand.
Yeah.
Like, we went into camp and we did 3 days down in Sydney, and you're just around your people. And it's just the best. And we learned all the dances. We had the dance crew come in, and then we went to New Zealand, and it's a whole nother level over there.
They've got it dialed in. Hey?
It is, honestly, it was refreshing to see how much they love their culture and how well they do it over there. And it was just like, I didn't leave there deflated. I left there with a sense of like, how good would it be if Australia got to this one day? Because it was amazing to see how well respected everyone is over there and how much they just embrace their culture over there. And I was just like, wow, this is like not deflating, but it was just like, wow, let's hopefully we can strive for this in Australia one day.
What can we do? I said, what can we do? What can I do? Like, as a male Caucasian, like guy, like, what can we do to help get there? Because is there anything we can do?
No, it's just ask questions. If you don't know something, there's no silly questions because it wasn't taught when we were at school. So it's just one of those things where if it's not taught, how do you know?
Yeah.
It's just one of the things that you don't know what you don't know. And it's just one of the things, like, you're a very curious person and you've always asked me questions and I try to answer it to the best of my ability. If I don't know, I'll ask, one of my elders and then I'll try and pass it on to you. But yeah, just asking questions. There's no silly questions because our past is our past, but we're all moving forward together.
It's so cool. And I love the initiatives, like the All-Stars, because Preston started the Indigenous All-Stars, right? Is that going to be, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is that one of your favourite initiatives, like Indigenous initiatives?
And one of the best things I've ever been part of. So my first time I watched it was in 2009 or 10, I think it was. And I watched it from the stands as like a 17-year-old. And then the next year I got to play in it. And I got to play with without that, I never played Origin, never played for Australia. Played in country and Prime Minister's 17, but I got to play with some of the best players in the game, like JT, GI, Justin Hodges, Will Birdie. There's so many great players I played with over my time, and thank you to that game and Presto. I've played with some of the best players ever to play the game and pull on a jersey, because without that, you're versing them, but to be with them for 7 to 10 days and be part of that as a young kid, and then be the other end of it at the start of this year was just it was a good way to go out. It's
so cool to see the way the game has changed because of one man. Preston kicked all that off, and then you look at the flow-on effect from yourself, guys like Coddy Walks, Latrell Mitchell, and I know that you're big on being a good person, and I think these guys are so influential. That's why, mate, that's the whole reason for this podcast is guys who are in very influential positions, they have the ability to change the narrative of the conversation that's happening in whatever it is. For this, it's mental health.
100%. And yeah, mental health is such a big part of today's society. And I look at someone like Latrell, who does so much for his community.
Yeah.
And then the media are so quick to try and bring him down. They're just so lucky he's a strong person.
Really?
Otherwise, I remember one time we had to go to the NRL because I think it was 120 articles have been published about, he'd just won 2 comps at, I think, at Roosters.
Yeah.
And he was one of the best players in the game.
Yeah.
And I think there was 5 good articles about him. Little alone all the good stuff that he's doing in the community, everything he's doing for everyone else. He's going back home and doing all this stuff.
You don't see that stuff.
You don't see it because you never, you don't feel like you have to go out there and post and brag about it because that's just what he's always done. And the media are so quick to bring him down, and they're just so lucky he's pretty strong in himself and he just pushed through it. He shouldn't have to do that. He's doing so much good, and I just sometimes I feel so sorry for him. I just go, well, there's only so much he can do. There's only so much he can give back, and still people try to make him the victim. It just annoys me sometimes how mental health is it's a thing that I've seen evolve since when I started playing footy to now. And just to see how much negative media there is about him and people having to come out and fight for him, whereas we shouldn't have to do that. We know he's a good person. We know he's doing so much to help his people, but people still try to find a way to bring him down. It just pisses me off.
It's that Australian tall poppy syndrome, hey? People will help you get to the top, but then once you're at the top, they're so quick to pull you down, right?
Yeah, it is annoying, but shout out to Trell Mitt. He's a good bloke doing good things, and same as Cody. I played with Cody in Palm Beach, and he had a different journey. He took a while to play first grade, but now he's one of the best players in the game. So, that's another thing of resilience and, showing kids if you don't crack it the first time, you don't crack it. But he stuck at it, and now he carried New South Wales to that win.
Yeah.
Literally carried them.
Yeah, it's so cool. And it's cool, what you just said before. It's you might, you don't have to debut at 18, some of the crew, even 20, grinding it out and just working hard and consistency is what I found. If I knew what I knew now, I would have done things so different, coming into the game.
Yeah. You look at the Don. Don come up here, he was a school teacher, he was
Anthony
teaching
Don,
it, shout out to Don. He was teaching at, I think, Burleigh School, and he signed up for Burleigh and played cup. I think he scored 30 tries or something stupid. Got a training trial at the Titans. I remember someone said, he's the Caucasian greeting list.
Yeah.
we'll call him that for a while.
Really?
And then he come on, he had a couple of trial games and got a start. And then went on to be the Titans' top try scorer. I think he debuted at 25.
Wild.
26 or something.
Yeah.
He still works at the club, still a good mate. And it's just one of those things where, don't get discouraged too early. He went and did his degree, became a school teacher. I think he did it down at Newey and then moved up, was teaching, and then all of a sudden he's playing NRL.
He's the best. He's a really great example of like having a plan B and like having something away from footy. I know you're big on that. Even like when I was coming through, I tried like so many things when I was playing footy. Like even when I think you were at Hoppy's car wash and then I was at the Cranes, like part of the initiative that one of our coaches rolled out was like to go out and work for a week and get on the tools. And there was some boys like
Petey was a brickies labourer.
Nathan Peets was a brickies labourer, was doing it tough. And then Brimo, he was working for Tripadil in an airconned office. Yeah. Like, and then I was on like Surf City Cranes, just going around like doing sales and like getting on cranes, which was easy. I remember we came around to the Hoppy's car wash to get some of the cars washed.
Yeah, it was me and Mitch Rain were at Hoppy's car wash, but I remember like we'd rock up the train and later in the RV and Petey would just be there
so
fuming.
angry,
I look at Petey and he really kept me grounded through like a lot of, like he was my bad cop.
Really?
Because I like to try and, make everyone pretty happy and keep everything but he was always the guy that people like respected. He trained hard. Yeah. He did everything that he had to do, but he'd just tell people how it was.
Yeah.
And he wasn't afraid to do it. And you need those people. He was a good person for me to lean on because he was always my bad cop.
Yeah. He's probably like one of the most competitive guys that I've ever seen.
Oh, easily. Like you'd see him at train and he'd always try and come back early from injury and stuff. He was just like he'd be the first person to call you in the off season and say, let's start training.
100%.
And like you'd always get a crew together and like he's like, man, I have a week off.
Yeah.
And then like he's just like one of those guys. He was just like a competitor. He was definitely not the most skillful person, but I remember when he played for New South Wales, he deserved that. Like people work so hard to get to that level. And when he did, I cried. I was like, I watched him run and I cried. I was like, how good's this?
Yeah.
Like you get to see your mate like achieve like his dream. This is the best.
It's so like I love you got like that's what I mean. Like you got so much love for the boys and like even like genuinely having love for people who are doing good things.
Yeah. No, it's just good to see people achieve what they want to achieve.
Mate, I think before we wrap things up, I kind of want to do a full circle. We talked about your family and we talked about your kids. We touched on it last night at dinner about the values that you want to instill in your kids, and you say something to Brookie and Carter every time they leave for school. Do you mind touching about that?
No, it's something that I didn't realize I did, but like always just try to tell them, be nice to your friends, look after each other, be nice to the teachers, be kind to everyone around you, and you just tell them I love you. Like I always tell my kids I love them, tell them I'm proud of them. Even sometimes when they're being little shits, you just gotta, try and talk to them calmly and just try and raise them the best. Like that's another thing. You need to try and be a good parent.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you're playing football and I like to try to think I read and listen to podcasts enough to try and do these things, but you still got to live it out and do it and be present. And sometimes you find yourself going wayward, but you just always got to remind them like they're doing good. They're kids, they're learning.
Yeah.
And you seen the kids at mine, like they were running feral, running wild.
It was so funny last night when one of your young boys came in and he's like, Dad, can I go play on the trampoline? He's like, yeah, 10 more minutes. He runs outside and then Anna, your partner, was just like, what are you doing? Go back inside. You're like, I'm so sorry, mate. I love you.
Yeah. And he wanted to run next door, which is a good 300 metres away, and jump on the trampoline. But it's just one of those things where, you try to do things together and do the best for the kids. And, they're everything that you care about now, and that's why when they got my parents around, Dad always worked hard, and I look like my dad's my hero. Like he instilled good values in me. He worked hard, looked after us as a family. Mum always looked after us, took us everywhere for football. Me and my brother and anyone else that wanted to hop on board. Always the first people to do that. And I think watching Mum and Dad look after us and then really care for us and care for everyone around them kind of makes you want to do the same, I reckon. Mate,
what are you excited about going forward in the next couple of months, couple of years? What are you looking forward to? What's coming up?
So I got a couple of different things. Obviously started with Bond doing the first futures hub there, and figuring out how that's going to look, and with the foundation, really want to try and get some of more of those daycares out there, and it's just trying being present with the kids as well, because also, like when I grew up, my dad was like a coach for a lot of my career, and he coached my brother, and I'd play up, and Dad was a coach, and so I was around Dad a lot. And they're the times like you remember, and you don't really think about it as a kid, but then I was just so lucky that I had great people caring for me, and I just want to be there for my kids. So if my kids want to play footy next year, they haven't played footy yet.
Yeah.
Like one does gymnastics, AFL, soccer. They've done everything except for play football, which you scratch your head at and you go, I mean, you've watched me play.
Yeah.
Why don't you play footy? But now I think if they want to play, I think we've Mudgeeraba Redbacks are our local club. So if they want to play, I'll go down there and coach and just be present there and just try and be the best father you can be, and then work on all the different businesses outside and hopefully just look after everyone around me.
How do you go? I was going to wrap it up, but how do you go balancing family and work now? Because I thought that, I don't know, when playing footy that we were busy. I thought but in reality, we almost had every second day off.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, for me coming out of footy, it's you're working a 9 to 5, 8 till 4, whatever it is. You want to get your training in. So you either got to train before and after. If you want to study, you got to study outside of that. And then throw in family, throw in a partner and throw in a couple kids. How do you go with the balance?
Oh, so when I retired, I went straight into full-time study. So I took on 3 subjects at Bond.
Which is huge,
Went
right?
into part-time work. And then I wanted to be there for school pickups and drop-offs. And I also signed on to train and play for Tweed Seagulls.
Right.
I ended up doing my ACL again, which is probably, looking back now, which was I go, wow, thank God I did that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had time to do it all because I was trying to study, trying to work, trying to train and, still be part of a team environment, because you lose that sense of being around people and being in a team. That's the biggest, I reckon, downfall. You're part of a team for so long, and then you go to this different environment and you're like, this is not what I'm used to. I'm used to just talking absolute shit to people like my mates. And, you just can't do that in normal day life. We're so privileged as football players to live the life that we do. But, it's super hard. There's no other way to put it. It's hard. There's no one telling you what to do, what routine to do. Whereas as football players, we're babied.
Yeah.
We're actually babied.
With everything done, hey?
Everything done for us. Meals packed, clothes, everything. People at Bronx, they wash your clothes, wash your towels.
Get their own pillow, their own beds. They got a cool facility though.
Everything. They do their best to look after the players up there, which is why they are so good now. You can see it transitioning onto the field, but then you transition into life after footy, and you got to put yourself in your own routine. And in the CBA, you need 4 weeks in advance of what you're going to do, so you know what you're doing for the next 4 to 8 weeks. Whereas in real life, you have no idea what you're doing in the next 4 to 8 weeks, and you just got to figure it out.
I wonder, I always wonder if being babied and having everything done for us helps us, or if it hurts us. The conversations that I've had with some wellbeing managers more lately with my role at Whatability, it was more we have to book flights because if someone doesn't book a flight, they're gonna miss the game. You know what I mean? But all those little things about lunches and external things like having your university application helped pay, all the little things, the minute things. It's I wonder if that actually, yes, it would help in the moment, but I wonder if that helps us afterwards. I'm not sure.
Not sure if it enables us.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Because I've had my hand held through all those applications, and I think back now and you go, wow, people helped me apply for uni, helped me do everything, really. When I went to Bronx, I took my own towel, took my own lunch, and I got there, they're what are you doing?
Yeah.
Your
your
towel's
here.
We provide lunch upstairs.
And
then it's just another layer of, them looking after their players. But, it's just one of those things where you have to, I guess I probably grew up a little bit and I had the family and, but I couldn't imagine, I guess finishing maybe at your age through injury, not through your own choice. And then stepping out, into the big wide world where everything's kind of already been done for you. But you're lucky. We're good friends, and I've watched how you've transitioned, and you've always tried your best and excelled in whatever you've done. Without you, I wouldn't have started my MBA. You probably don't realize the impact that you have on people because you're just a good person trying to help people as well. The podcast is out here trying to, bring down the stigma on mental health, and now you're talking about doing further study. And I was just bro, how can I help you? Let's do it. Let's meet some people and let's make it happen, because it is a thing that just it's overlooked, and it's a big part of society nowadays. And I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. And I think we are doing a good job. And I think that as a community in the NRL, I think we're making small steps. Do I think we have a long way to go? 100%. I think we were talking about this last night, the professional sporting teams over in the States and in the UK, they've got 2 or 3 club psychologists traveling around with the team full time.
Yeah.
And I talk about this all the time, and I was well, where's that in the NRL and in the AFL. Like, there's no one. Yeah, we can lean on, I guess, coaches, and we can lean on well-being managers, friends and family. But I was like, imagine having someone who had like played professional sport and had that like psychology background, or having an understanding of it all, even just mindset. Like guys like Hugh Van Kylenberg, or even Ben Crow, or even like these guys, like having those guys around would be so vulnerable, like be so valuable. Sorry. And I was like, well, I would have made so many less mistakes if I had someone like that. Yeah, so that's why I want to go down it. You know?
100%. And also, like, I've had both those guys, and Ben Crow was at the Bronx last year, and I'm pretty sure he's there this year.
Yeah.
And like, I think I might have done 4 sessions with him, but then like the leaders, like they talked to Paddy and Renner on that pretty regularly.
Yeah.
You can see the impact it has. Yeah. Like, no wonder they're playing the grand final this year. Like, you have these people looking after you as a person. Like, take football out of it. What's your why? And there's some of these things you don't really, think are important, but then you reflect on it and you go, like, I'm doing this because I actually need to be here. And it's just one of those things where I was so lucky. I think I had Ben Crow, would have been maybe 2016, maybe 15. NRL used to have this marketing fund where players would go down, and I was lucky enough to sit through one of his things then. And then, I had him at the Bronx last year. And then even just those handful of sessions, and to realise the people he's worked with and people like, and then, it'd be great to see the NRL. Like, they do a lot. So with the current guys in the RLPA doing a great job trying to bring in all these things, look after the players. So shout out to like Tommy Simons, Clint Newton, doing such a good job to try and look after the players and look after them. They're ex-players. They know what it's like to retire and walk into nothing and, not really know where they're heading. So they've got the right people there, and now it's just building on different CBAs, building different layers. And I think that's definitely one of them. Like, having a player that's lived through it, if you want to go do a cycle, like, I'd hire you in a heartbeat, like, because you've lived the experience, you know what it's like to do it. And it's just one of those things, if you know it's going to create great outcomes and you want to win the comp, put these people in your club.
Well, it's like, if you're happy, you're going to be playing better footy.
100%. If you're happy outside of football, you're going to be so much happier on the football field. And I remember, like, when I was younger, you see some of these players have great years, and then you look outside and you think, why? And they're just happy. And then in reverse to that, when guys, are going through family issues, they might be going through drug and alcohol problems or like whatever it is, it's affecting their footy. Like, it's so hand in hand. And you would see a million examples of that. Yeah, and then, like, being a captain of a team where you have to look after people that are going through all different situations, you can see the ones that are playing good because they've got a bit of routine. They know how their life's going outside of football. They're not worried about other things. So if you're not worried about other things, obviously the thing that you're focusing on is going to be better. So, I think in America, it's a lot different to our sport. Like, you look at the NFL, like, they can get rid of a kicker in a day. So I'd hate to see, what some of those guys, mental health's like. But here you've locked into contracts here. You might get tapped on the shoulder and say goodbye. I remember PT always used to look over his shoulder and be like, hey, what
don't touch my shoulder.
It's just one of those things where if you got someone there in and around the boys that are well respected, and then can genuinely go and talk to, like, all the wellbeing people are doing such great jobs, and education people, and they can only do so much because, like, I'm assuming they have a psych degree. It's like probably a 4 or 5 year degree, and then you have to probably go practice.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where you build it up over time, where you're learning all these things, and then you can implement these things on the players. And if you're getting results, like, if you want your club to be the best club, let's do it.
I think that'll be the shift when, like, when teams start investing in that stuff and then they see the return on it. Well, you look at Ben Crow and the Bronx. Yeah. Exactly. Like, perfect example. But Collywood, AFL, for example.
Yeah, you were telling me about that last night. Can you tell the boy?
Tell
everyone? Tell all the listeners?
I touch on it a fair bit in the pod. Jackie Lauder, like one of the greatest sports psychologists that I know of. I'm sure. But, like, she's honestly the greatest. I went to Melbourne maybe a month ago, catching up with a lot of mates, catching up with a lot of athletes, and her name popped up like 4 or 5 times. I was like, who is this Jackie Lauder? And she's essentially a sports psychologist. She has her own clinic. She's full-time with the Collywood AFL team, and she has been for the last couple of years. And she is so incredible. Like, I remember I got on the phone with her because I wanted to ask her about how to navigate, the psychology degree with sport and everything like that. And she knows like everything about a player when they come on board, you know, whether they have any learning difficulties, their family life, their home life, do they have ADHD, do they have bipolar, whatever it is. And so having an understanding them coming through, she can help navigate the conversations with coaches, with well-being, she can help with study. The players are on call, like can call her whenever, their players' families can call her when they've got that relationship. And she's at the point now where I think I was like when I was telling you last night, the players are pushing for her to be on the sideline while they're playing games. So which is wild. Like, like don't get me wrong, like clinical psychology is great. And it's something that I want to dive into, but also that performance psychology, that positive psychology, being in the right mind frame. How do we get into that mind frame where we're consistent throughout? So if someone's having a bad game in the AFL, they can, and obviously they've got interchange, more free interchange in the NRL, but they can run off, like talk to Jackie if they want to, and then like, oh, well, what did we work on last week? I don't know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Like, but then come back on and like they won the grand final. Like they just, like Hollywood just won the AFL grand final, and it's like when we start seeing those case studies and those examples, then that's when we're going to see the shift.
100%. And like, I've never had Wayne Bennett as a coach, but I remember when we went into COVID camp here on the Gold Coast, and to see how he treated his players. So what was there, 6 teams there?
Yeah.
And you know, when the families rocked up, this like is something that just sticks in my mind. I remember like everyone just wanted to see their families and just, you know, hug their kids and do this and that. But Stick took us to our families, so we got to see him at the other hotel. So he did a thing for us where we got to go see them in private.
Yeah.
But I remember I watched the Souths. I like observing people.
People watching.
Yeah. And, you know, you hear all these stories about Wayne Bennett, but he put like a whole show, not a show, but like he booked the dining hall, which was as soon as you walked in, the dining hall was there. He booked that for all the families. So it shows you how much he cares.
Yeah.
And I don't know, he probably did it deliberately, I don't know. But like it just, like it proved to everyone else that it showed that he cared about his players because he put this on for them. Hey, we're all back together. I don't know what he said or what he did in there, but I'm pretty sure they had a real good year, and that you can see why the players play for him because like you watch like him do those little things that, you know, probably no one else thought about, and I just watched him do that. I just go, wow, no wonder like you see all the players go out there and play for him.
It's people first. It's 100%. That's, I think, like my favourite coaches have always been people first.
Yeah, that's it. Rod Patterson, go.
Pato, go. Brother, mate, we're well and truly over an hour, I think. we flew through that, mate. Thank you. Thanks for like jumping on and telling your story. Thank you for being vulnerable about your injuries, about everything.
Sorry for crying.
Mate, no, don't ever apologise for that, mate. Thank you for everything. Like, thank you for all the time of the Titans, time of the NBA, mate. You're a role model to not only me, but to everyone who's coming through. So many NRL players, mate. I got a lot of love for you, so thank you so much for jumping on.
Cheers, brother. Thanks for having us.